You will never be at rest or you will never be satisfied unless you surrender and you rest with the Lord. Kaya surrender mo na ang iyong self-will. Surrender mo na yung iyong self-love. Surrender mo na lahat yung iyong mga attachments. Kung attached ka masyado sa make-up, huwag nang maraming make-up, konti na lang. Kung attached ka sa maraming alahas, ibenta and give it to the poor. Kung marami kang kotse, magbigay ka naman. No. It's about simplicity. That is joy. Joy adapts and changes. Always endures, even as a flicker of light, born of our personal certainty that when everything is said and done, we are infinitely loved. We are called to give witness to this joy. What the Filipino spirit can share is the joy of sharing Christ to the whole world. I remember when I studied in Rome for 3 years. That was the time when Father Sikia is studying and we were together in one pontifical university. And I remember what the Italians, because in Rome, there are about 54 Filipino masses in the different basilicas and parishes. Rome alone. You're not yet talking about Milan, Padua, Florence, and other cities. You have Tagalog, Bicolano, Cebuano masses. But in one encounter, I was assisting Father Sikia because I'm not yet a priest that time. He was celebrating Mass in one Filipino community in Nomentana. And then there are some Italians who join because these Italians are the employers of this Filipino. The Italians are saying, I love your Mass. There is joy in spirit. And then the Italian again said, we are aging community and dying Catholics. And there seems that there is no more joy. And you Filipinos are filling up the masses, the Catholic celebration here in Italy. And I see joy. And for us Italians, we can hardly identify who is young and who is old. Because it seems all of you look young. So wala po ditong matanda. Amen? All are young at hearts. The joy of the call. In calling you, God says to you, you are important to me. I love you. I am counting on you. When we speak about the mercy that Jesus shared, Cardinal Rosales speaks about joy in the mercy of God. But he used Tagalog words to explain the joy of the mercy of God. Kinaawaan, inunawa, at pinili. God has compassion to you. God has sympathized with what you are. Kinaawaan ka ng Diyos. And what should be our disposition to our sick brothers and sisters, to our members of the community who are experiencing oppressions or sickness? Compassion. And despite of that, we go on the second deeper level. Kinaawaan, inunawa. You understand the person. Intindihin mo na lang siya kasi may pinagdadaanan siya. And despite of that, pinili. You were chosen despite of your unworthiness. Who am I? I'm not worthy to be a part of this group. But it is the mercy and love of God. You are here. Sometimes because we are focused on the parable of the prodigal son. But in that parable, we tend to forget that sometimes, and most of the time, we should be like the father of the prodigal son. And I told my niece who's studying in Benil, in film, I told her for her thesis to make a film on the father of the prodigal son. That's how the father looks. And as parents, that's how we look our children. It is always beautiful to recall the joy of the moment when Jesus looked at us. Only here do we discover the important and underlying meaning of our vocation. It is a response to a call of love. Your vocation as parents, your vocation as married couple, your vocation as a daughter, your vocation in single blessedness, your vocation in being a widow but practicing the vow of countenance as a vocation. The joy of consecration, wherever there are consecrated people, seminarians, men and women, religious, young people, there is joy. There is always joy. It is the joy of freshness, the joy of following Jesus, the joy that the Holy Spirit gives us, not the joy of the world. And there is joy. I myself, as a priest, before entering vocation, I have my own ambition. I want to be an agriculturist. But my father has an ambition for me. So I obeyed my father. Lo and behold, I met the community of the Two Hearts. He did not know that I'm already in. And so upon learning, so my father scolded. But I explained to him, you know the joy, I want to serve the Lord. And I want to continue what you desired before. Remember, Daddy, you were 7 years in the seminary. You left because your prefect of discipline said you have no vocation. So he left. In a year, he got married to my mother. So, I want to be an agriculturist. I want to explore. And also, I want to be a sociologist. But it did not push through. It pushed through with one thing. The desire of my father. But he did not know that I'm already in a religious community. So when I shared it to him, when I said that, Diba, you want to be a priest? So I'm here. I want to continue what you started. You started it, and at the middle, you fall. I will rise up for you. My auntie is here. She knows my story. And so, when I got ordained, I don't have that so much emotion in me. But the only thing that I remember during my ordination is the joy and serenity and peace and excitement of my Father. I don't feel that feeling of emotional joy. But I was looking my Father. He was the most joyful person. It's because when he learned that he wanted to continue what he started, he gave me the blessing. There was joy. This is the beauty of consecration. It is joy, the joy of bringing God's consolation to all. There is no holiness in sadness. Do not grieve like others who have no hope, wrote St. Paul. 1 Thessalonians 4, verse 13. Let's continue. The joy in community. Joy is confirmed in the experience of community, that sacred space where we recognize we have been brought together together by God. In community, it is not necessary to like one another. Again, I repeat. In community, it is not necessary to like one another. In the community, there is like conflict between St. Peter and St. Paul. In the community, there is such thing as Martha and Mary. In community, there will always be somehow conflicts. You don't like this person, but why is it that you are together? Will you still be confused? No more. Because you are here, because you are with the Lord, and for the Lord. A joyless community is one that is dying out. It is a reminder. Pope Francis here is like a prophet who says, joyless community is dying out. And you have to bring back that joy, that excitement. You don't need to recruit. You just need to be contagious. Not like virus. But contagious in joy. Yung bang pagkasama mo siya, hindi boring. Kaya the most painful is when you're husband and wife, and then you enjoy because your husband is not boring. And then you miss him when he's not there. Kaya naman si asawa nagagalit kay misis kasi hinahanap kahit nasa toilet lang hahanapin pa. In the community mentioned there a while ago, it mentions about sacred space. Sacred space. Because most of the time you are inside the house with your purgation, with your purgatory, and then you go to heaven with your community for your sacred space, for you to breathe with joy. Kung purgatorio na nga yung pamilya mo, purgatorio pa yung samahan ninyo. Wala na. Wala ka na pupuntahan. Kaya please, I encourage, make your community heavenly. And then, when you go back to reality in your family, you are bringing heaven in your purgative life. Community is the first and most believable gospel that we can preach. Since we are witnesses of a communion beyond our vision and our limits, we are called to wear God's smile. Paano ba yung God's smile? Maybe you need to have like a search for God's smile in your own community. God's smile is a smile.
Mona Lisa smile.
I can explain it. A smile that is living in the state of grace. Can you imagine if you are haunted or tormented with evil? So grabe yung battle. But once you're liberated with it, there is peace. There is joy. And if you wear that inside smile, then that's the smile of God. The joy of witnessing. Jesus invites us to proclaim Him with joy as the risen one. But He asks us to do so by word and by the witness of our lives in daily life. We know well that with Jesus, life becomes richer. And that with Him, it is easier to find meaning in everything. If you are in love with Jesus, sign that you experience joy in your life, that you have meaning in every message that you receive from the Lord. That's the meaning of Jesus. Receptive to the message. People today certainly need words, but most of all, they need us to bear witness to the mercy and tenderness of the Lord. That's why Vatican II redefined what it means to practice evangelization. Gone were the days, Vatican I, evangelization is to convert people to become Catholics, memorize the commandments, and be faithful to the law. Now, Vatican II added another important thing. Aside from these things, before all these things that you need to give instruction to those catechumens and others, bear witness to the gospel. Like Mother Teresa, she did not limit her charity to Catholics, but even to atheists and to non-Catholics, to everyone. Pope Francis has pointed out the path of attraction, the path for the growth of the church, the path of the new evangelization. The church must be attractive. Is apostleship of prayer community is attractive? You yourselves can say. Hindi naman kailangan attractive na beautiful faces. Na kapag ikaw, apostleship of prayer, kailangan ganito ka sa status of life. No. Attractive because you see the love, the support, the understanding, a community who builds an environment with no judgment and no condemnation, a community who understands, and a community who helps. That is what it means to be attractive. Faced with this contagious witness of joy, serenity, fruitfulness, the testimony of tenderness and love, humble charity, without arrogance, many people feel the need to come and see. And please pray, because Cardinal Tagle is heading the third rank in the Vatican. He's in charge for the propagation of the faith. And John Allen, the Vatican commentator and the biographer of Benedict XVI, speaks about why Tagle was chosen in that post. Because the church needs a good communicator. And the church evangelization must be attractive. And since Cardinal Tagle has the ability, and he catch attention and attraction to people. That's why he was there. Para bang sasabihin mo, if you are a Filipino, you are an attractive person. Can you say that to your husband? You are attractive. No, maybe you will say, you are destructive. Okay, now,